A.J. Brown's a concern for 2025, and you can tell me I'm wrong. You can say, Smitty, what if he does good in the playoffs here down the stretch? And that's always a risk where you say something bad about a player, you call a emergency panic chamber episode for a guy that's still playing football. And then he goes out, lights it up, and everybody goes, whoa, what a call. My boy, what a call. But the bottom line is it almost doesn't matter if he has one blow-up game. I've been concerned about A.J. Brown for quite some time, at least, this year, majority of this year, just the way his headspace is shaping out he's in a bad headspace. He's just not himself. He doesn't look like the A.J. Brown of 2-3 years ago. Humble guy. He's got an attitude. Whenever he's interviewed, he says this right here when he reacts to some of the negativity. Now, granted, I know there's a lot of negativity getting thrown at these players, but this is part of their job. They're supposed to handle this. They're taught how to handle this. Part of their job is speaking to the media. And he says, none of that really matters. I'm going to continue to be myself regarding some of the negativity around him reading on the sideline, reading a book on the sideline during the last football game. I'm not pretending. It's not a facade. Who cares who don't like it? I'm a 3-time All-Pro. And he's just got an attitude, and it's a concern. It's panic chamber time for 2025. I'm not saying don't draft him in your underdog promo code Smitty playoff drafts. Link in description, and I'll drop link in just a few seconds. I'm not saying don't draft A.J. Brown in your playoff draft. I'm not saying A.J. Brown is going to disappear and become some bum, but there's knee concerns every year with this guy. And now the red flags on top of the fact that Jalen Hurts is not looking like the same quarterback. Never really has since Shane Steichen left Philly and went to Indianapolis. Steichen made Jalen Hurts into what Jalen Hurts was. And he's kind of fallen apart under the command of Sirianni ever since. And A.J. Brown hasn't looked the part. The offense doesn't look good. I think that overall, aside from Barkley, this offense, which is just as stacked as Detroit, one of the most high-powered offenses in the National Football League, if not the best offense. It's being carried by the defense and Saquon Barkley. And everything else is it's a mask. As using the word that A.J. Brown just used, it's a facade in a way. This is a team that is an absolute marvel when you look at the roster. This is a team that I believe is, like I just said, as talented, if not more talented, from top to bottom, from defense to offense, from offensive line to receiving room to running back room. And I do believe Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. Inside there's a great quarterback, but right now he's not playing like a great quarterback. Sirianni is being carried by the defense, Saquon Barkley, and a few other pieces and components of this team. The Fantasy Football Show, news show. We got other stuff. Monty's back. He's ready to go. Jahmyr Gibbs is excited to get Knuckles back, and they can now be Sonic and Knuckles again. Shedeur Sanders news. We got a whole bunch of other fantasy football news to go to. That show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Somebody said I had the wrong seed here. Yeah, I copied this over from last year, so let me see what I got mixed up here. I think everything else is correct. I think I just need to fix Baltimore seeding there. Okay, my bad. Yeah, I copied these from last year. Does everything else look right? Buffalo 2, Detroit 1, LAR. I think I got it all correct. So, A.J. Brown, I'm going to have you guys calling in a little bit. Real soon we'll open the phone lines. But I want to know what your concerns are for A.J. Brown. But when I look at this Eagles offense mixed with the fact that this guy, A.J. Brown, has suffered knee scope, knee injury after knee injury, at some point, his knees are going to become a problem. At some point, this attitude, this new, I don't know what it is, diva mentality is going to be a problem. At some point, the combination of all of it, the knee injury risk, red flag, the The bad spotty play as of late, red flag. Jalen Hurts not playing up to par, red flag. Sirianni is a disaster, red flag. The diva part is the worst part. It puts the icing on the cake. I just feel like at cost of entry, which is most likely going to be, if I had to guess right now, talking about ADP values, my guess is that AJB is still going to linger around this 11 to 15 overall territory. And if you didn't watch the Breece Hall video, go watch the Breece Hall video. It talks about how you can win your league if Breece Hall lingers in this third round territory. That video is already up. I uploaded it about an hour and a half ago. But we're talking about AJB. If AJB is going in this 11-15 range, I'd rather have Bucky. I'd rather have HN. I'd rather have Kyron. I'd rather have Josh Allen. You heard me. You heard me correctly. I'd rather draft Josh Allen at 15 overall than draft AJ Brown. I'd rather take Josh Allen at 15 overall and get a wide receiver that I love right here or right here, instead of getting my quarterback right here, or in round 5 right here, or wherever you tend to get your quarterback. Now, I know some of you blanket statement, I wait on a quarterback no matter what. You do you. I draft players. I don't draft positions. I don't say my quarterback is getting drafted in the 6th or 7th round. I draft players. That is best player available. You should draft players as well. Don't draft a position. That is the best way to leave meat on the bone walking out of your fantasy football draft. But AJ Brown, now if AJ Brown, everything's about ADP. Everything is about ADP. If AJ Brown falls, let's say right here, guess what? I might be back in the game. If he's my 3rd drafted player, sign me.
You've just been Smitty approved.
If he's my 2nd drafted player,
you've just been Smitty disapproved.
Everything is about ADP. Always has been, always will be. And that goes the same for this video that I put up on YouTube just, like I said, a little over an hour and a half ago. HN last year, what was his ADP? 3rd round most of the entire offseason. Climbed into the 2nd round. Kyron, Best Ball Mania. We drafted Kyron in the 3rd round over and over and over. Both these guys held 3rd round value for the majority of the early to middle of the offseason in 2024. ADP. It's all about ADP. Breece Hall, given the state, and this is the video that's up again, go watch it. The state of New York and what's going on there. Quarterback coaching, question marks, offense inefficiency. Breece Hall not having the season we wanted. Good season, but not great season. It was good. It wasn't as good, but it was good. It was pretty solid. We broke it down the other day. Not that far off his previous year. It just happens that there's a ton of high-scoring running backs, and he just did a little worse. He wasn't really able to get the opportunities that he should have got. But Breece Hall at 3, 4, 5, 6 overall, it's not worth it because the questions we have are unanswered. There's too much ambiguity around his situation to expect the return of investment to be in the top 5 or 6. So we avoid him. If he's going into the top 5 or 6, he's not. If he drops, like I said in my video today, again, it's up there for the taking. If Breece Hall falls down, let's erase this so you're not confused. If Breece Hall falls down to round 2, still kind of a shaky value until we have more answers about who's throwing him the ball, all that. But as soon as Breece Hall falls to this value, the ADP is gold. Here's a fire emoji. The ADP is straight up fire, okay? Straight up fire. There's nothing better than, that's a fire. There's nothing better than getting AJ Brown, getting a Breece Hall in round 3. Breece Hall in round 3 is a no-brainer. That's where his ADP is projecting right now, if we had to guess. AJ Brown is not. AJB is looking like he's going somewhere around this territory. And if he does follow suit and follows Breece Hall into round 3, then I'm back on board. And then we're going to have people coming in here and saying things like, Smitty, you're flip-flopping. Didn't you just LOL LOL, Smitty, didn't you just drop a video how you said avoid A.J. Brown, and now you're saying to draft him? And I'm going to have to school you, tell you to get me a coffee, and then take away
Your Bijan card has been revoked.
because you weren't listening. Everything is about ADP. A.J. Brown, no here. Breece Hall, no here. Breece Hall's falling. Early indications and temperature tell us that Breece Hall's going round 3. Early indications and temperature tell us that AJB is not. If AJB falls, if he drops a dud, if he does some more public embarrassment, more diva mentality emerges, we might see him fall. And if he does, we'll be back in. If he does, we're back in to have a conversation. Everything's about ADP. JJ, this piece of news right here, a lot of people speculating that JJ could request a trade. He's unhappy and all that. JJ said he's fully committed to the Vikings. I have a new contract, 3 to 4 more years on that contract. I'm locked in. I'm going to be here for those years, just looking forward to what we have coming up. There's no concern here. People trying to make something out of nothing when they start talking about JJ departing or getting traded. Or first of all, you can't even trade a player that just signed a big fat contract. It's front loaded. The dead cap would crush the team. He's not getting traded. So let's just stop and put that to bed. Brian Flores will interview with the Jets and Jaguars Friday and the Bears on Saturday for their head coaching jobs. I can tell you right now that I think this is one. He could be a good coach, but he's a good defensive mind. You know, this could be one of those things where it's like Kingsbury. Kingsbury goes to Chicago is better than Shane Waldron if he was the OC. But if Kingsbury goes over to become head coach now, Kingsbury, Kyle Shanahan, Miami, Mike McDaniel in Miami. I don't know if these guys are, I'm not saying they can't be. I'm not saying they can't grow and mature and become good coaches, but I don't think these guys are coaches. I don't know that I believe Brian Flores would walk into Chicago and fix things. I think he wouldn't. I mean, he's obviously going to surround himself with other good coaches that can maybe take the reins, but I just don't know that would be the right move. Ben Johnson probably is the best shot. He's the best offensive mind, but he too, we don't really know if he's good head coaching material. Will he be able to create the magic from a head coaching perspective? Just like Kyle Shanahan's an absolute marvel offensive mind. When he's in a head coaching position, he can't do those things. He can't cook in the kitchen. He's managing the P&L and hiring and firing and marketing of the business. Not technically, but you know what I'm saying. If you're running a restaurant and you're the chef, you're the OC, and you get to go cook in the kitchen, you get to go cook in the kitchen. Once you become a head coach, you've got all of the responsibilities that pull you out of the kitchen. So we don't know if Ben Johnson, and I think Ben Johnson's worth a shot, but we kind of know that Miami Mike McDaniel's not a good coach. He's a great offensive coordinator, great scheme guy, great offensive mind. He's a good chef in the kitchen. But Miami Mike McDaniel doesn't know how to run the restaurant. Miami Mike McDaniel is spending very little time in the kitchen. His cooking is becoming stale, and he's even bad at that because he's so bad at everything else surrounding him. And there's some concerns I have. If the Bears are going to try and fix Caleb Williams and that situation, I don't think you go with a Brian Flores. I'm not saying he's not good on defense, but this doesn't seem like, it seems like another Eberflus and Waldron combined situation. And I don't, you almost needed Vrabel, who's now off the table, or maybe Ben Johnson, but even Ben Johnson, I don't know. I think Ben Johnson's going to be great wherever he goes, but this is like the one situation that could ruin it for Ben Johnson. We've got update from Adam Schefter. Deontay Johnson stops this calendar year. Pittsburgh, Carolina, Baltimore, Houston, back to Baltimore. That's just crazy. Baltimore brings in Deontay. This one's kind of funny. Shedeur Sanders is such a hated player right now. Everybody's got an opinion on this kid. Like, oh, Shedeur, he's not a good quarterback. He's, you know what everybody's saying right now, and I bet you somebody's saying it in the live chat right now. He's not a first round grade, Smitty. And that's what you heard from Pete making a video over here, Steven or Michael. Content creator Michael, content creator Peter, or content creator Hateful Henry is out there making videos and telling you that he doesn't have a first round grade. A beat writer is saying that. Somebody that's doubted him and has an agenda is saying that. I don't really care what anybody else says. He's a top 5 overall pick. If you think Shedeur Sanders isn't going in the first round, I hate to break it to you. You either are one of two things. You don't know ball, or at least you don't watch college football. You have no sense of what's coming through the door, rookie-wise, NFL draft-wise. Or two, which is the better option, it's fandom. It's fandom, it's hatred for whatever that's causing you to just throw shade on them, and it's not really founded in anything. It's just more of like the way you're built to back your boys, trash Colorado, whatever the case may be. But if you think, and I'm not saying that he's an absolute land, I'm not saying anybody is that comes out of college. None of these guys are locks of any kind. We've seen players like Johnny Manziel exit football with some of the most tremendous talent that a college football player has ever obtained or had in their possession. They walk into the NFL and they straight up bust. It happens all the time. Quarterbacks specifically, it's a really tough thing to be 100% on. You're going to miss some, you're going to land some. I will say it's a wheelhouse of mine that I love very much. And we've had huge success. And we came out before anybody and said Jaden Daniels is by far and away the number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. And we got tons of shade for it for months.
The Jupiter man. Jupiter is so large, every planet in the solar system could fit inside it. There are no bigger monsters than the Jupiter man.
And some of you don't even know what college JD5 went to. I'd venture to say there's a couple people in the live chat, and if you've been here for this segment, don't say anything, or I'll have Travis put you in timeout. I bet you some of you don't even know what school JD5 went to. There's some of you that have no clue. You think you know, but you don't know. Go ahead and answer if you think you know. Shedeur is an absolute... see if anybody knows. He's an absolute top 5 lock. And Cam Ward and Shedeur are weaker. They're a weaker class. Be careful. Travis, don't do it yet. Be careful. Be careful. Why has everybody got to ruin it? Lupo, why you got to ruin it, Lupo? Darius, why you got to ruin it? Why can't you play along? I won't have Travis put you in timeout, but like, why? What's wrong with you? And Beta, you're obviously wrong. It's not LSU. You imagine thinking that JD5 went to LSU? You walk into a live stream, Beta, and you drop this real confidently. LSU. He didn't go to LSU, bro. That's wild. That's wild. Here, I'll show you what college he went to. Okay, now that we got that settled, what was I even saying? Oh, we're talking about Shedeur. So this is funny. I haven't even got to the point yet here. This is a rumor that the Giants had a grade 2. It's just like the know-it-all bobbies out there that are talking this trash about Shedeur Sanders not having first-round grade this year. The Giants apparently had grade 2 value on him last year, saying if he does declare, we're going to draft him in the 2nd or 3rd round. The Giants. This is the same organization run by Joe Shinebox. Get my Shinebox, Joe, and shine my shoes. Joe Shine. His own son told him, Dad, you better draft JD5. You only get this job once. And his son knew more than him. I hope his son's brought in as a consultant because Joe Shine knows nothing about football. Top 5 lock. You say what you want about Shedeur. You could rip on Shedeur all you want. I'm not sitting here saying that he's perfect. I'm not saying that he'll thrive any place he goes. But I do think that he's got a lot of upside. And if he's cultivated right by a Dable. And as much as Joe Shine is in, Shine World, doesn't understand what's going on, if Dable gets his hands on Shedeur Sanders, he will develop him. If the Giants get their hands on Cam Ward, Dable will develop him. He's a good quarterback developer when he can make the most and turn a good quarterback into a very good quarterback, turn a great quarterback into an elite quarterback, turn an elite quarterback into one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game at Josh Allen. That's what Dable does. And I think Dable will clearly do that if he gets his hands on one of those two quarterbacks. So hopefully that ends up happening. How does it happen? Well, that's the complicated part, because the Giants decided to win some games and be a little bit more productive than they should have. They hold the 3 pick. They got to move up because Cleveland's now a threat. Tennessee as well to take a quarterback. And Cleveland's going to be without Deshaun Watson for the entirety of the 2025 season. Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles tendon 3 months ago and then just tore it again like a week ago or whatever. So Deshaun Watson's done. And not to mention, he probably has played, unless he comes in for an injured starter at some point. Watson's probably played his last snap as a Cleveland Browns starter. But Shedeur is going to be, if cultivated right, a great player. Cam, a great player, if they're cultivated right. Now, if they both, like Tennessee, I think Shedeur could fail in Tennessee. I think Cam Ward could fail in Tennessee. I think Cleveland would be great for either one of them. I think you got a good wide receiver in Jerry Jeudy. You could draft a Scatterboo or a Dylan Sampson in round 3, whatever. Round 2. I mean, Scatterboo will go 2. And if you're smart, you'll pair a very young, exciting top 5 running back with the quarterback. But I think Shedeur or Cam does well in Cleveland. I think Cam or Shedeur does well in New York. I think they get rid of Shine Box Joe at some point anyway, so I'm not even worried about that. I do believe the Giants, if they get their quarterback, they bring in Justin Fields, they draft Genty, or they draft Travis Hunter. He's a cornerback and a receiver, and then you bring in Justin Fields. So Genty, Travis Hunter, Ted McMillan, Burden. You want to draft Burden. Burden's a good wide receiver as well. Absolutely. You draft one of those guys, or Genty, or offensive line, if you will, and then you could go Scatterboo in round 2, whatever, and you bring in Justin Fields. Giants are competing. Absolutely. Joe Shinebox is irrelevant. He's kind of in the way right now, but he's not going to be a long-term concern. Jahmyr Gibbs speaks on David Montgomery coming back. I missed him a lot, just being around him every day. He finally has his knuckles back. Sonic and Knuckles is here to stay. And for any one of you that thinks Gibbs' value goes down because of the presence of David Montgomery, I don't think you understand the basic mathematics that go on inside this equation of ours that tells us that this man doesn't even need he needs 220 to 225, 230 carries this season on a team that runs the ball 500 plus times, meaning he doesn't even breach the 50% mark of consuming the Detroit Lions carries. He doesn't even consume 50%, and yet people think that David Montgomery has any relevance to holding back Jahmyr Gibbs or vaulting him up if he gets injured and Jahmyr Gibbs gets to start without him. Now, does his play go up a little bit, when he's vaulted in? Yeah, but at some point it would start to level. And we're great and excited and high-fiving and absolutely, sending people on laps when Jahmyr Gibbs does get a 4 or 5 game stint of starting by himself. But that's because it's a 4 or 5 game stint. Trust me when I tell you, you want that. David Montgomery's old enough that in 2025, he's still going to give you those 2, 3, 4, or 5 missed games. And he's good enough to spell and keep this guy healthy, keep this guy in the flat, keep him catching footballs, not just running up the gut. I'm tired of seeing him run David Montgomery's tough up the gut carries. I don't want him doing that for a full season. I don't mind a 3 or 4 game stint of it. But it's hilarious to me when someone drops a comment and it never fails in the comment section. Gibbs will never be top 5 as long as Monty's there.
Take a big lap. We don't need your hating ass coming back now. Take a big lap. Take one and you don't come back. Take a lap.
By the way, on my thefantasyfootballshow.com, I put up all the rookie rankings. So if you want a sneak peek at what the videos are going to be about, you might want to head over there and purchase your 2025 subscription, my boys. Because you've got my rookie rankings up already, which are right here, and my super rookie. And I coined super rookie rankings a long time ago, and now everybody's copied the hell out of it. They even got a contest, a best ball contest on it. Sophomores and rookies. So your boy many years ago coined super rookie rankings, which were basically an extension, basically a consolidation of the rookies and sophomores only. So when the sophomores graduate to juniors, they get knocked off the ranking, and the rookies graduate up to sophomores, and then the incoming rookie class. So the rankings always filtering each year to have just sophomores and rookies. And the reason for it that excited me about the concept many years ago that people are stealing is that it gets you in a dynasty mindset. And a lot of this site is very dynasty geared. And as you can see, I reinvented the site this year to kind of get back to the grassroots of being dynasty geared, because things got cloudy last year. You never knew what was dynasty, what was going to be redraft. My dynasty articles are in green. My redraft articles are in blue, and the site's color coordinated appropriately, so you know, which is fantastic. You can see the color coordination around these. So dynasty, versus redraft. I'm taking pride this year in separating the two types of content. And anyway, I've got the rookie rankings up there right now, and you can go check them out. Do it live, do it live, do it live, do it live. Whoops. I'm hitting all kinds of wrong buttons. AJ Brown, 25 concern. We'll take calls on that in a second. I think I'm actually done with all the news anyway, so we can just do the phone lines, open them up, do it live, dial in. Let's talk AJ Brown if you can, or someone on screen, Jameer Gibbs, Monty, Shedeur. Hit me with it. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show. Call into the show. Call into the show.
I thought I hit it twice for you guys that complain. I don't want the number. I don't have the number. The number's right there in front of you. I hit it twice. Phone lines are open. Let's discuss whatever you want to discuss. But again, I hope you can bring a little bit of the news content to your question, or at least your first question. Fire that off. BPA, either wide receiver, running back. BPA could be quarterback, bro, in round 2. BPA could be Brock Bowers at 2.2. BPA is anything. BPA is not just running back, wide receiver. BPA is best player available, not best running back or wide receiver available, not best quarterback available. It is BPA, best player available. I will tell people never, ever, ever draft a position, draft a mother freaking player. And BPA is up to you. It's not. Some people think BPA is the best, highest ranked player on the pre-ranked list. Who the hell would? That's auto drafting. You draft off that list, you're auto drafting. You use the list, you manipulate around the list. You see a guy floating in the top 2 and you go, I don't like that guy, I'm gonna let someone else take him. The guy I like is 6 spots down, and I've got a pick, then I have 2 picks, and then I'm up again. I could squeeze out, this guy later and get him drafted in that next. You use ADP to your advantage. Best player available accounts for who's on your roster already, upside, downside, risk, all that. Who you're drafting against, what draft selection you have, how many picks until your next pick. That's all accounted for in BPA. 100%. Gibbs is borderline top 5 with Monty. I mean, I would say it doesn't matter. No matter what, he's in my top 3 overall, but that's fine if you've got him borderline 5. We need, Brian, we need you. You're helping keep his ADP at bay, so I'm not going to rip on that take. But I wouldn't say borderline. I'd say this guy might be running back 1. Monty doesn't matter. Monty's irrelevant. Gibbs is number 1, 2, or 3 overall running back 2025, and it doesn't have a caveat. That's the part that there's never fails. There's always somebody that drops the caveat. Brian, I'm not trying to roast you on this one, but there's always somebody that drops the caveat, as if we need Monty to get hurt for this to work out. It's hilarious to me. There's no change in value. He's not borderline anything. He's a top 5 overall player, but definitely top 5 running back. If Gibbs is solo or not. And there's something too, if Monty stays healthy all year, Gibbs is more efficient, does more with a lot less than if he's toting the rock himself for 17 games and he starts to slow down and he has less yards per carry, and it all trickles down, my boy. There's pros and cons to all that, but there's no caveat needed for Jahmyr Gibbs. And there's a formula for it, bro. It's not just me, it's science, bro. Listen. But the continuum of the gigawatt component structure of Jahmyr Gibbs' workload divide has a megawatt offload that if you compartmentalize the component conjunction timekeeper and you flux capacitor out the continuum component megabolt, things just end up happening. And that's why Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 5 to 10 running back instead of top 6 to 10. It's amazing. But look, we need, no offense, Adam, I'm using you as an example too. We need guys like Adam who say Gibbs doesn't reach his full potential with Monty.
Wrong. Muy mal.
Yeah, yes, Adam, you're correct. Tell everybody. There's no caveats needed. There's 0 caveats needed. And if you believe that, Adam, please, again, tell everybody you know. Tell everybody in your grandma league, at work, go to the water cooler, slap a sticky note on the elevator doors at work. Tell everybody that with Monty, Gibbs is less valuable. Please tell everybody that. I love it. It's so funny, bro. It's hilarious. What else did we had, we're also going to be talking a lot about carryover trust. I created this right here. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Carryover trust, COT. The amount of fantasy trust carried over from previous year.
So COT is going to be a big thing walking into this season for us. We're going to be coining this phrase. Carryover trust would be an example would be where we have a guy like, let me just pull up carryover trust would be Duty. Duty has some carryover trust that we're going to have to analyze and figure out. Bryce Young has some carryover trust. They're basically a player that's like, we don't know what to think. How much trust can we really pull from the previous season, and how strong is that trust? Judy showed us enough. This would be like Baker. Baker walked into 2024 with so much carryover trust that it was like clear as day he was gonna do what he did. Those are the things, and even I had some hesitancy. This needs to be a part of our process. It's not the only thing. It needs to be a factor. There's a lot of things that could throw red flags up, and I saw someone write in the chat, carryover trust gone astray would be trusting CJ Stroud after having such an amazing season. So how do we combat that carryover trust threat of being wrong? Is it sophomore slumps? Is it the fact that Diggs landed on roster? We knew he was going to screw up the whole cohesiveness of the entire thing. Tank Dell got shot and was recovering from injury anyway. Like, there's a lot of things that kind of like were red flags that CJ Stroud might not be in his usual environment. That could be the reason that we missed on CJ Stroud. And I want to say we, because we didn't really have CJ Stroud like as our biggest breakout, but everybody liked him, and so everyone thought he was going to have a great year. He was like the poster boy of up and coming quarterbacks, and so I think we really need to figure out how we evaluate COT and where we go for 2025 and evaluating that and mixing it into our process. But yeah, thoughts on Mechie? Mechie's okay, bro. He's okay. Justin Fields is starter next season. Rain, I think so. I mean, how could he not be? Look at the free agents that are available, bro. It's a very light crew. Very light crew. Higgins, Godwin. I think Keenan Allen's a free agent, is he not? Ziggy, is Keenan Allen a free agent?
Keenan Allen is a wide receiver for the Chicago Bears.
Thanks, Ziggy. That was really helpful.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Yeah, I know that. Keenan Allen contract. Let's just take a look and a gander at it. His contract, he is no, he's under contract for one more year. No, he's an unrestricted free agent this year. Yeah, okay. So he needs to be added to this list as well. Let me go grab Keenan Allen. He is a free agent. Ziggy's worthless. I remember one time I trusted him on a very, very, sharp answer. He gave me a very, very, it felt like a very accurate answer, very, very on the money. And then we went with it, and then everyone's like, no, it's not it. We looked it up, and I was like, Ziggy, what in the hell, bro? Making me look like a fool. Do I even have Keenan Allen? I don't even think I have a graphic. Yeah, there it is. I was like, where's my graphic for Keenan Allen? Okay, so let's put this on, not on this screen. That's not where I meant to do it. Keenan Allen. This is a very weak free agent pool for 2025. I'm not excited about this free agent pool at all. Obviously, I love Higgins. Okay, what are 2 Keenan Allens? We're getting a little Keenan Allen out here. My boy, calm down. Relax. Okay, so Keenan Allen, Higgins, Brown, Cooper, Godwin coming back from injury, but it sounds like he's on pace. Fields is the top free agent quarterback. I don't think Darnold is better than Fields. If I'm pulling in a quarterback for potentially my future, not a bridge quarterback of any kind, Darnold might be a better bridge quarterback maybe, but if I'm grabbing one of these 3 guys, it's Fields, then Darnold, and I don't even give Russell Wilson a call. Aaron Jones, old. Harris, changing teams. Will he succeed changing teams? Maybe. It's tough your first year on a new squad is tough. And who knows where he goes. Maybe he gets retained. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option, though. But he did play better than expected, so maybe they do pull him back in. Maybe the market's not there for him. Diggs, not interested. Keenan Allen, old, not interested. Hopkins, not interested. Amari Cooper, not interested unless it's a beautiful spot. Godwin, very interested, assuming he's good to go with the ankle. Higgins, super interested. Hollywood Brown, kind of interested. It's Fields and Higgins for me. Those are the 2 most exciting free agent players this year. We used to have a board for wide receivers because there were so many of them. We'd have a board for running backs because we had a plethora of them to choose from. Quarterbacks. This is the first year that we've done the free agent board where I put it all on one board, consolidated it down to one screen because it's so boring. And it's not going to be that exciting of a free agency unless there's trades. And I think there could be, but this is not a good pool at all. This is a very, very weak free agent class. So kind of disappointed for that. When we looked at it, I didn't really have a good feel of who the free agents were about a month and a half or about 3 months ago. I would say about 3 months ago when we first looked it up. I just wasn't really, I was focused on the year. And I remember we pulled it up. Yeah, about 3 months ago. Time flies. And I just looked at it. I think, Travis, you were on the line when we pulled it up. We weren't sure. We just kind of were like, oh, who are the free agents? Let's look at it. And it was like, nobody. I had to dig for these guys. I'm like, oh, Higgins is in there. We knew Higgins was in it, but it's weak. It's weak. It's so weak. It's not exciting at all. The running backs last year, it was the best running back. It was coined, and I believe the coining to be accurate. It was coined as the best running back free agency pool we've ever seen in the NFL, in NFL history. Barkley, Henry, Jacobs. And one of them could have failed and kind of maybe threw that for a loop, but they all 3 succeeded majorly. And it's just kind of disappointing. This free agency sucks. We need trades. We need trades to happen to get us excited about it.
Yeah, it kind of adds to, like, we were talking about how spoiled we were with the draft and free agency guys moving around. So it's a different animal this offseason. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting. I was calling on A.J. Brown to say, like, probably touching on some of the stuff you've already touched on. But obviously, depending on ADP, like you always say, but there's so many, like, to me anyway, so many good wide receivers that, I think I'm going to be a little bit picky. Like, I want one of those top 6, 7 guys we've talked about. But after that, I'm staying away from red flags because there's so many guys, and it seems like guys tend to emerge every year.
Well, let's look at RBs. Sorry, wide receivers. So 2025 wide receiver ranks. And this is not in any real particular order, but we'll try and kind of ballpark it. But Jamar Chase, number 1. We'll go with JJ, number 2. Again, not in an exact order. We'll go Lamb Chops for 3. We'll go, let's call it Puka. Let's see. Let's go Puka, St. Brown or Nico, I guess, would be. Let's go St. Brown.
Yeah.
St. Brown. And then number 6, we'll go Nico. Then I think it's BT and Neighbors in London. So 7, 8, 9. I'm just gonna go BT, Neighbors, and I don't want to rank them because they're so close. We could have a debate on it. So that's 7, 8, 9. McConkey's in the mix at this point. AJ Brown's obviously discussed. Garrett Wilson, McLaurin, JSN, Mike Evans is still in the conversation. Like, that puts, like, Marvin Harrison Jr., like, as we said the other night, puts him like at 18 to 20, 18 to 20, which means all the risk is baked in for Marvin Harrison Jr. But, like, by the time you get to him, George Pickens, I have it like 18, 19, 20, 21, somewhere around there. I don't trust him at all. I mean, so AJB to me is in this conversation of 10 through 15, but I don't think I have him anywhere near that 10 spot. I think other people, I'd rather have Ladd. I'd rather have.
I mean, I'm taking JSN over him because I think he's going to be, huge target guy from here on out. So
yeah,
I know people might disagree, but 100 receptions this year. And then guys like you mentioned, like Terry McLaurin, who's obviously ahead of him right now, but I guess, do you think if they bring in another big receiver, that could affect things, his touchdowns, his all that, but I think he's probably going to be, around 1,000 to 1,200 yards with, 7 to 10 touchdowns. I think you can almost pencil that in, So,
yeah.
Very consistent. So you get to that point where you're saying, do you want consistency? Do you want to go for a ceiling? I guess it's personal preference at that point if you get that far down the list.
Yeah, I can't. If I get to this point, as you said, I'm hoping that using best player available, I'm just holding one of these other receivers. I'd rather have Neighbors, BT, or Nico or London as my wide receiver if I'm trying to wait until the top of round 2. So my ideal, again, I think balance is going to win. Balance will be king this year. If you're able to get Achane in round 1, kind of near the 12-13 turn, and you get a Neighbors, that's awesome. If you end up getting a high pick and you've got JJ, then I'm hoping to get Kyron or Bucky or something like that. So I just think the balance is going to look really good this year. It's gonna be a very, very nice approach, and it's not something you've got to force. Best player available should allow it very, very easily, because I just think that you're going to have an opportunity to, If you can't get Neighbors, let's say you have too late of a second-round pick to get Neighbors because he'll probably go right around the 1-2 turn, then that means you had a high first-rounder and you could just go Jamar Chase or JJ or whatever. The only thing I think could maybe trip you up is if you go early quarter or early running back, like let's say you take Bijan number 1 or number 2, what's going to be left at the bottom of round number 2, and that might be where you're stuck without one of these guys, and then you gotta ask yourself, like, is going McLaurin, JSN, Mike Evans one more year? Like, is that going to satisfy you when you're at the end of the day walking out of your draft? It's tough to say. There could come a cost with drafting Bijan or Gibbs or somebody in the top 2 or 3 if the wide receivers don't fall. You might have a weaker wide receiver room.
Right,
but
you're going to have the confidence that you can maneuver that.
I'm kind of thinking this year, at least initially, I'm going to want a later first-round pick. Because I don't know if I want to be put in that spot as much as I want to have like a Nico and a Neighbors. You know, if I was to go wide receiver, or like I said, a Kyren and Achane and Neighbors. I'd rather have Nico and Kyren, Nico and Achane, Neighbors and Achane, Neighbors and Kyren, Neighbors and Bucky, Nico and Bucky. I'd rather have that than the number 1 and number 24 overall player for right now, at least. I could change my mind.
I mean, I don't know if this will make any sense, but like, I love having that like top 3 type running back, but I think things are a little easier to maneuver sometimes if you have that like top 5 wide receiver, and then you have like 2 top 12 running backs or something like that. I think sometimes that's a little easier to figure out.
Yeah.
And stuff, but.
We'll see where let's see. I got a super chat sitting here. I'm sorry, Hernandez. How long has it been sitting there? Hernandez, appreciate you. Trade Achane for the 1.2 and 3.04. I'm stacked at RB. No. The 1.1, yes, but as I've alluded to many times, the difference between the 1.1 and every pick below it on the rookie draft scale is just it's miles below. It's not. This is like a times 2 or 3 value compared to any other pick. So this is chop liver to me getting the 1.2 for Achane, whereas I would do it for Genty, and I'm not saying I'd do it every time. If I had like 4 leagues, I would definitely keep Achane in a couple and take Genty in a couple and mix it up. But Achane, I'll probably put it like this: Genty over Achane and over the 1.2. So I like Achane more than the 1.2, more than I like Genty over Achane. If that makes sense for him.
Stack that running back, that really.
Yeah, but then make a trade, make a different trade. Go after a receiver. You know, don't make a trade for a running back draft selection, which would be the 1.1, 1.2. Go after who would be a good receiver to attack? Neighbors, a little down in value. CD Lamb's a little bit down in value than where he should be if you've got to add more to that. But if you were to trade Achane goes below Lamb in a draft, so Achane plus something like a pick should be able to get you Neighbors. Neighbors might get you might get Neighbors straight up because those guys, they have the same ADP, similar ADP. Whereas Achane for Lamb, you'd have to give up probably something, but I think you could get Lamb or Neighbors for Achane and something. So try, bro.
Oh, and that's the biggest thing is you got to try, because I always say, like, as long as it's within the realm of a fair trade, kick the tires, because you never know what people are thinking. Like, when someone could have just watched the Darnold do that and not believe in J.J. McCarthy and be thinking Justin Jefferson doesn't have a quarterback. No, we don't necessarily think that, but you just never know what people are thinking.
Yeah.
Or they could be completely out on Mac Jones and to say Brian Thomas doesn't have a quarterback, So it doesn't hurt to kick the tires on these things and see what comes out the other way.
Yeah, where Fields goes will be completely depend. His value will completely depend on who's coaching, how they can fix him, because Fields is broken, and is the offense game planned around him. He can't just go to a situation like Pittsburgh was not even an attempt. Like, anybody that thinks that Fields didn't prove something in Pittsburgh doesn't realize that he was never even given the playbook, essentially, in theory. He was said, hey, run the ball as much as you can. This is Russell Wilson's job. Don't mess it up. Don't touch anything. Get in the lineup. Don't move anything around. Don't adjust your seat or your rear view mirrors or anything. Don't put your seat back. This is Russell Wilson's car. And essentially had to navigate and drive it. And so if anybody thinks that Fields at all got a fair shot, or you have anything to even judge him on, you're out of your mind. And so, and then you look at Chicago, and it was worse. So, like, what has Fields ever been given opportunity-wise? Nothing. Now, the problem is he's broken. His confidence is probably shot a little bit, and he's broken. So you need a special coach like Dable to bring him into New York and just cultivate the hell out of the kid. Shane Steichen moves on in Indy and trades away AR5, which would be so crazy. But we've seen crazier things happen. Then all of a sudden, what I would want? I would like AR5 in Arizona, because we don't really have. Arizona's not going to get Shedeur or Cam. We're not going to get a top 5 quarterback in a trade. We're screwed. Arizona either rolls with Kyler and we're mediocre and we never win. We'll win games and we'll be okay. We'll be dogs. We're always kind of a team that other teams like Debo and a lot of Niner players said we're dogs. Like the Cardinals, they're tough. You end up beating them at the end of the game, but it's like, man, they're gritty. That's the type of team the Cardinals will be. We'll be a gritty team that puts up a lot of fights, loses at the end of the game, doesn't go anywhere. We make the playoffs. If we're lucky, we'll lose first round. We're never winning a Super Bowl with Kyler Murray. We're not getting Cam Ward. We're not getting Shedeur. Like, what is our alternative? It's Fields, and we trade Kyler away, which Gannon said he's not doing. So it's all pipe dream talk. So it's either Fields or you do something crazy like trade Kyler away, make a totally different trade, to the Colts and get AR5, because, let's say they were to, I don't know, maybe they were to bring Fields in or something. Like, you'd have to be some wild circumstance, but for some reason I would love to either have Fields or AR5 to replace Kyler and just give it a shot. I know it's not the highest likelihood of working out, but it's better than Kyler. Kyler's trash.
It's especially now that what's Kyler been in the league now, 4 or 5 years anyway, a little longer.
Yeah.
But once you've seen that, like, pretty much seen the ceiling of a guy, and you can 95% say, well, unless something big changes, we're not going to the Super Bowl with him or winning the Super Bowl with him. You're better off to make a decision sooner than later, because you watch these teams that just die in mediocrity.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
And for those,
it sucks that the league is that way sometimes, that you can't build out of mediocrity, but it's really hard to do.
And I know in the chat people have been talking about, I see it, that Russ isn't coming back. First of all, no one knows anything. Tomlin hasn't told anybody anything. So it's all speculation. It's all people guessing. It's all it is. It's all guesses. There's no factual anything to it. But the question I would have is if Russell Wilson is not brought back, that to me would be an immediate firing of Tomlin. Like, and Russell Wilson should not be brought back. Let me make that point abundantly clear. Russell Wilson is dog water. He should have never been starting from the beginning. But if you're admitting that the entire time But first of all, you should be really fired on all counts. Like, Tomlin shouldn't be there. They should trade him. He's got a no-trade clause, though, so you'd have to approve it. Either trade him or mutually move on. But this is not the home for him anymore. And everybody's coming around to that. Ron Navy was very adamant about that over a year ago. And he was right. But BBQ says Russell Wilson isn't coming back, Smitty. I know, BBQ, you're not hearing me. I'm saying if he does come back, or if he doesn't come back, that is evidence that Tomlin is saying he wasn't it. Like, and he stuck with him the entire time. If he doesn't bring Russell back, what was he doing? And how does he go from believing in him this long to just, what, one game? This one game, now he doesn't want Russell Wilson? Like, it's insane. It's insanity. It's insanity to me. I don't even understand it. Tomlin should be fired.
He was willing to basically run that team straight from the ground. Like, everyone knew they weren't winning that playoff game. You know, the last few weeks of the year, like, I think there was one or two games where, like, Russell Wilson's numbers looked okay, but if you watched the game, it was clear as day, like, this is not a good quarterback and not winning with this formula.
Yeah, it's crazy. No one's saying Tomlin will get fired, Adam. I'm saying he should be fired. Big difference. I just, how do you botch? I mean, first of all, we said it from day one. Fields was the better quarterback from day one of the two of them landing on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster, and they said Russ is the starter. What was the phrase that Tomlin used? Russ is our. What was the damn phrase he used?
Yeah.
Like our navigator or something. He said something like that. Russ is our. What was it?
Pole position, right?
Pole position. That was it. Russ is in pole position. It's his job. And then like a little time went by, and it's like, you know, Russ has got the advantage, but you know we're gonna see how it goes. And then Russ wakes up with a tummy ache and a pulled calf, and then he misses 6 games, and Fields goes 4-2, earns the job. Everybody in the media said it, and Tomlin, using his big brain that everybody would stroke later and say, "Oh, Tomlin, how did you know to do this?" When Russ wins his first game, and that's why I get paid the big bucks. I was rooting against the Steelers and Tomlin and Russell Wilson more than I've rooted against something I think ever in my career. Doing this professionally, that and Caleb, for whatever reason. I'm not rooting for Caleb to fail. I'm rooting for, what's the best way to word this? Because I don't want anybody to fail. I want Caleb to succeed. I don't ever want so. But these guys are also making millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's not like if you have any sort of like, you want to be right and you can't wait for it to unfold is essentially what you're doing. It's not that you're rooting for the failure. But they are making millions of dollars, so it's not that you're not that bad of a person.
You almost want to just like get their like comeuppance just because of the way they carry things.
But
like a little karma come back around on them almost.
But it's like everybody that jumped on the train when Russell Wilson won his first game, and there are people in this chat that did it. I remember. And it was like I had to swallow my pride for a game and be like, look, Russ came in and won. I get it. Tomlin ran to the tunnel and he was like so excited about how good he was, patting himself on the back. And Justin Fields is like, I went 4-2 for you. You weren't excited about any of that. Like, what in the hell's wrong with you, Tomlin? And for Tomlin to not bring back Russell Wilson, and again, nobody knows. It doesn't matter how many beat writers or local radio shows predict. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I don't think Russ comes back. But if he doesn't come back, if he does come back, Tomlin should be fired. Because that's ridiculous. And if he doesn't come back, Tomlin should be fired. Why? Because now you're admitting that you screwed up the entire season? If Russell Wilson's not good enough to bring back, you clearly started the wrong quarterback all year long. That is incompetence. And if you bring him back to start, you're still doing it. You should be fired as well because that's also incompetence. But I don't understand how anybody in their right mind could think Russell Wilson was it. It was so crazy. And we have it on the board. I think you can see it. Right. I put Eagles NFC champs, and then I put right here. You can say Field starts week 1. And I think I put, what else to say there? Top 10 quarterback numbers. He didn't stay starting long enough to do that, but he was exciting. He was kind of an real exciting fantasy football super flex play. And
yeah, well, he was, let's see, QB 19, 24, then 12, 1, 16, and 7, and then they yanked him. And just to note, they gave Russ the Jets and the Giants leading into the bye for his first 2 starts. So, I mean, it's almost safe to say they would have been 6-2 with Fields.
Peanut butter breath, you don't need to be here if you don't want to, bro. Do you simpletons really think there's panic for AJB because he read a book? You know, peanut butter, I'll give you another try if you want. We'll put you in a little, you want to go on a little timeout and think about it. You can come back and be a negative Noah if you want in 10 minutes. And then we'll see.
That's an Eagles fan or AJB owner?
I don't know.
I've seen them all over X too. They're hyper defensive.
We'll see what you think in 10 minutes. And then we'll go from there. Does that sound good, peanut butter? Oh, yeah. We'll have to wait for his response. Tomlin is stubborn. He was starting Russ the whole way. Exactly. Tomlin's an idiot. Okay. The problem with just barely being good enough is you always have a late pick. True. Inner excellence. AJB is he's such a different player right now than he was. I mean, he was such a humble, like down-to-earth guy. And like even when we go live every off-season, or shall I say two straight off-seasons, and dude was like the most humble guy in the world. And now he's like just an arrogant, entitled, I'm a Pro Bowler. I don't care what anybody thinks, I'm a Pro Bowler. I mean, I like some of that in my wide receiver. Your wide receiver, you need to be diva.
A little bit. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think when you're doing it the way he does it, the same way Ayuk did it, it was horrible. It was a turnoff. It was a complete type of behavior that spirals your career out of control. Look at Ayuk. Ayuk's trash now, and now he's coming back from a major injury. AJ Brown, it'd be different if he was being a diva and he didn't have huge injury concerns. It'd be different if he was being a diva and he was being productive on the field. It'd be different if he was being a diva and it didn't feel like he was like Ayuk right now. Like, that's the way I feel about him. I feel like he doesn't have his head on straight. He's been crying all year long. There's been turmoil between him and Jalen Hurts all year long. I feel like Jalen Hurts has been pretty mature about it. I'm sure there's things he said too, but he's at the podium. They ask him about it. Instead of ripping on him, he's like, no, he's reading a book on the sideline. I mean, really, that's on Sirianni. You know what I would have done? If I was the owner of this team, I would have grabbed that mic and said, Sirianni, I'll see you in my office. How are you letting a guy read a book on the sideline? That's inexcusable behavior, especially a playoff game, but any game. You should be cheering your team on. In fact, if let's say the offense was on their rear ends on the bench when a turnover happened, I would bench, at least for a series, if not the rest of the game, any player that didn't exit their rear end and stand up and clap and cheer on your team that just recovered the ball so you could go back out onto the field. I think it's ridiculous you'd sit there and read a book, not even pay attention to the hard work of your pals. It's like playing Fortnite and your partner goes down and you don't even watch the rest of the game. You've got to. It's etiquette. It's etiquette.
I saw a couple people saying, "Oh, he's done that before with the book thing," and it's like, I don't know if he has enough, but if he has, that's even worse.
I don't know that he. I mean, Jalen Hurts says he's never seen him reading on the sideline before.
Yeah, I haven't seen him either.
So I don't know. That's just like anybody defending that. Anybody defending that AJ Brown's not a concern right now. Reading a book on the sideline, not looking very happy that his team won. You know, that's the first sign of an absolute locker room trouble. Is when a player is upset you won without them. That is the definition of a trash teammate. Calvin, $5 hauler. Hey, Smitty, what's your thoughts on Drake May next year with Vrabel on board? Ton of cap space. Curious who their wide receiver one will be. Very excited. Vrabel was the guy, bro. You got to remember, this is the guy that a lot of owners and GMs said that there was whispers that a lot of teams were afraid to hire him last offseason. The reason he didn't have a job is because he was too big of a human being. Like, he was a massive, intimidating presence in the room, and especially if he was hired on some other level than a head coach, nobody wanted this man to be their offensive coordinator and have to tell him what to do. That is a wild, wild accusation by multiple sources, according to a few reports. So that's you know, trust me, bro, sources, I guess. But that was wild when I heard that. But Vrabel's a beast, bro. He commands the. This is exactly what you want. I think the two worst coaching hires would have been Pierce and Mayo. Those were ridiculously bad coaching hires, and they are not head coaches. Those were not head coaches. Those were paper tiger coaches. Vrabel's an absolute monster, and I think this is exactly what you want. Keep in mind, like, I know a lot of people wanted Ben Johnson, you know, and I get that, but at the same time, to get Vrabel and an offensive coordinator, you know, that you like, that could be like a duo type situation, that might be better than just having Ben Johnson alone. Because keep in mind, Ben Johnson's going to be, if he's your head coach, he's going to be your play caller and everything as well, I assume. So you're kind of having almost like a placeholder offensive coordinator or whatever, kind of like Kyle Shanahan. But when you have Vrabel, you have two minds. You have a head coach, and we'll see what Vrabel does. But like you have a absolute presence. You have a Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is a great coach, and Ben Johnson's the operator. Like, how well does that work? Like, I think this could be better than Ben Johnson in a way. So I like Vrabel a lot. And
you see, like, that almost works better as a formula. Because, like you pointed out, when you take guys that are, you know, elite coordinators, the Shanahan and McDaniel and all that, like, and then they have to be the coach as well, it doesn't drive very well because their attention is taken away from that. So, you know, you have someone running the team like Vrabel, and then you have someone setting up the plays and running offense, defense, special teams. It seems to work better. And another thing with Vrabel is there's no question who's in charge. The tone is set, and if people can't fall in line with it, they're gone. Whereas with Mayo, it was always kind of like, you know, he's a player's coach, but he can hold his own, and like I didn't feel there was a lot of, like, you know, command in the room like you need from a coach.
Yeah, I also think that you're talking about with Vrabel, you're talking about a guy that's aggressive enough, I think, to go do what's needed in the offseason. So hopefully you guys end up, and I say you guys because Travis is a Patriots fan, hopefully you guys get T. Higgins, or you get aggressive and, I don't know, you figure out something. It would be wild if you did go get an A.J. Brown, or you did trade for a player. I think the odds of A.J. Brown getting traded are probably not as high as the media and clickbait media will want you to think, but there's still a possibility, and that possibility could grow into a more than 50%, you know, likelihood. I mean, it just depends. Right now, there's no way to know. And A.J. Brown, like I said, he's done this before where he's had a beef and you think things are bad. And then he says something to the media. You're like, what? He's like, no, I'm not. I'm fine. Like, what? Wait a minute. But he's been acting out of pocket for a while now. This is not like a month long. This is like multiple things. And how are you beefing with Jalen Hurts? Maybe, I don't know Jalen Hurts personally, so obviously maybe there's more to the story, but he seems like one of the most chill guys, and he might be a little egotistical, I imagine, and he needs to be. He's your quarterback, but I think he's probably pretty easygoing. I don't see him on the sideline casting tons of blame on A.J. Brown or putting A.J. Brown in a box and A.J. Brown's getting defensive. I think he's just mad he's not getting the ball, and it starts to brew, and Jalen Hurts probably doesn't, feed any attention to it, like, hey, man, I'll get you the ball, and that pisses off A.J. Brown that he's not a priority. And it's like, you're winning, bro. It's just a sign of a bad teammate when you're worried about being involved to win versus just winning. I'm not saying I wouldn't too, but that's kind of like, it's kind of like when you get a Christmas gift you don't like, and you're like, yeah, I like it, thank you. Your voice gets high. That's the way he's got to look at you. Like, you win without doing anything. The media says, hey, what do you think about not getting any catches today? Hey, we won. That's all that matters. That's what you say. A.J. Brown would be like, I'm an all-pro. I should have got the ball more. It's a total. Whereas the regular human being inside is going, damn it, I want the ball. But yeah, we won. It was great. That's all that matters. Shit. A.J. Brown's just, he's in a bad place right now. I really believe that, unfortunately, the injury red flag with the knee surgeries, multiple meniscus is an awful injury. It's worse than a clean ACL tear. I always tell people that, and they're shocked. Bad meniscus problem, or even a very bad one-time meniscus tear that requires surgery, that is like J.J. McCarthy's. That required surgery. That, it's not as bad for a quarterback, but if you're a receiver or running back, if you have a meniscus tear like J.J. McCarthy did as a receiver or a running back, you're better off having a clean ACL tear. 100%. The worst is you have the meniscus tear with the ACL. Then it's really, your knee's going to have degenerative arthritis and tendonitis type stuff going on in your shins and legs and everything.
Did McCarthy have to have 2 surgeries? Was that both this time? It wasn't. I saw something about he's had 2 surgeries now.
I think he had a second one to clean up or something, and that's kind of common. It's not. Right. It's not always the most ideal thing, but it's not always a deal breaker for. Sometimes it's just a cleanup. Sometimes there's little loose particles and like a bone chip or something of that nature in there, and it's floating around. They just got to take it out. But anytime you open the knee and cut it open, it's bad. Like Garrison Hurst, if anybody remembers who he was, some of you were not even playing fantasy football then, but Garrison Hurst coming out of college had no ACL in one of his knees, and he didn't know it. And so they did a test, the test they do on the field, where they just kind of have you sit on a table and they pull on your knee, and if there's a lot of lax there, then they know there's no ACL. And they did that, and they're like, we've got to get this looked at. But he had no idea he tore it, and he had so many surrounding muscles around like his knee and thigh. It almost wrapped he had the most crazy muscle structure. But Garrison Hurst had so much muscle around his knee that no one else really has, that it was stronger than any ACL. Like, he had no need for an ACL. His knee was completely sound. But because back then everyone was scared about not having an ACL. And by the way, Tajay Spears is the same case. He doesn't have an ACL in one of his knees to this day. But it's more accepted that you could come in, and if you're not having problems with it, you just keep your thigh strength there and your knee as strong as you can. But Garrison Hurst, in order to be drafted back then, he had to submit and have ACL surgery. So they went in and cut open a very healthy, perfectly good knee back in the day. And they did cadaver ones where they put a cadaver, a person that's passed away's ACL in there. And now they still can use cadaver stuff, but a lot of times they'll use your own patellar tendon, a piece of it. They cut a window out. That's what one I had. They cut open a little tiny piece from your middle of your patellar tendon, almost like you think of it like tongue piercing, where you poke a hole through your tongue, but you take it out and then it heals up. That's kind of the way. Whoa, we got a $100 hauler from BBQ. That's kind of the way you look at when you cut out a patellar tendon piece. It'll heal and grow over as long as you take it from the middle, and they turn that into the ACL. But yeah, I don't know where I got on that. Let me get this $100 hauler. My boy BBQ coming in strong. He said, hold on, we got to hit the $100 hauler from Denny. Where's that at? I think we got we got a new $100 hauler. So we had this $50 hauler. For anything that was 50, 100, whatever, it always got the $50 hauler.
Give me $50.
But now we have a new $100 specific hauler for 100 and above. BBQ, I think we hit this a couple times, but a lot of people haven't heard it yet. Here is the songbird of our generation, Denny, performing a little number we call 100.
Smitty, Smitty, everybody's pretty. $100+ I don't even know why they're getting ditty, why? $100+ oh, yeah.
Denny's such an angel. Smitty, love the analysis, love the community. And I wasn't going at you, BBQ, by the way, when you said something, and I go, that's not what I said. I'm never mad at you. Grinding year like a GM. That canceled show where you came back is why we should all be dropping money to support your exploration of Jupiter, Mars, and other planets. Best fantasy football show. Thank you. Appreciate you, BBQ, dropping the $100 hauler. And let's make your... Oh, you get to put your name on any video, bro. So what video would you like your name placed on? Every $100 hauler, you get to sponsor one of the videos. So every time it's played, you have your name sitting there, and you're kind of like the engineer of the video in a sense. So tell me whichever one you want, and I'll put you on that video, and I'll get you all prepped and ready to go. There it is. I'll drop this on whatever video you choose and play it. I'm gonna guess he's gonna say Bucky. What's your guess, Travis?
Let's see, Bucky. Is Bucky the newest one? Maybe the London. But Bucky, but you're probably right. Bucky.
London. I don't know if he's a big London. Is he a London guy?
Yep, Bucky. No, you got it, Bucky.
Bucky's. It's just a fun one anyway. All right, here we go, Bucky. You are now a proud sponsor of the Bucky Bath video. Every time this is played, your beautiful name will be shown to all.
Get buckied. Buckied.
Buckied. Oh, Bucky. Yeah.
Smitty's gonna tell me to shut up because get buckied. Thank you, pal. Appreciate you. Travis, anything else before I jump? I'll probably be back tonight at some point to do a graveyard after hours show.
No, I was just gonna say I was looking at Garrison Hurst, and he missed 2 years because of bone in his foot died. And he came back and rushed for 1,200 yards after that.
Yeah, he had one of the best runs in NFL history. That one Garrison Hurst run.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the first version of the. I'm sorry, John's been sitting there like 30 minutes. John, call back. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, John. I just saw John sitting there. He just left. He's like, F this. I've waited 30 minutes. John, call back. I'll hit you real quick, bro. I apologize, John. I forgot you were there. You may go now. John. I'm sorry, John. Here he is. He's calling back in. He's back. I'm sorry, John. If I ever leave you on hold that long, you can just say, hey, Smitty, just a little quick, nice, friendly reminder I'm sitting on hold. I won't mind. Go ahead, John. You're live.
I just wanted to add, I don't really think that A.J. Brown's a trash player. I think you said it before. Jalen Hurts has had a massive problem this year, and he was maybe once developed. He's no longer developed. If you look at PFF and you look at the amount of QBs throwing into tight windows, so they wait till the player gets crazy open, he's dead last. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, they're up there top 5, top 10, top 20. And I totally agree with you. I'd rather have Bucky Irving, some other player, Kyron Williams, than take A.J. Brown in the first round. And as far as my question goes, would you trade Bijan in the 12-team Superflex Dynasty for 1.3, 1.7?
No. Trade Bijan for the 1.3. Let me put it this way. I wouldn't trade Bijan for the 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, 1.10, 1.11, 1.12. If that helps.
Even if you're rebuilding.
I don't care.
Even if you're rebuilding and you got Michael Penix, you got Neighbors, you got London and Nico Collins and Bowers, and you have no other QB. Literally no other QB. I'm rolling with the Browns QB.
Well, just because you need, some clothes doesn't mean you give up your last, dollar bill and forego food and ruin everything else in your life. You can't just do something because you need to do something. That is not a good trade. Bijan is worth. Let me even put it this way: I wouldn't trade Bijan for the 1.1 and the 1.3.
Okay. Thanks for the
because the reason I say that is, if it was the 1.1 and 1.2, I might be very tempted because you get to pick the number one wide receiver and Genty. And so I could replace Bijan with that. But even the 1.3 with the 1.1, you're getting the second best receiver. What if it's not the one you want? What if Ted McMillan looks like a stud and Travis Hunter looks like he could probably disappoint a little bit? What if you don't? Bijan is locked in, bro. He deserves so much more. I'm not trying to say I don't like this draft class or anything. I'm just merely saying, if you're trying to rebuild, and it sounds to me like your team doesn't need to rebuild. It sounds like you're ready to win now. You just need to figure out your QB situation.
It's 2 QB Superflex.
Yeah, I still, even if that's the, and who's your other quarterback? Who's your quarterback? Name your entire quarterback.
I had Kirk Cousins, had Milton. Literally, I don't even know the dude's name, Cardwell. It's some Pope dude out of Cleveland. I don't know, the backup there. I had all of them. I had Drew Lock. I had Daniel Jones. I went with whoever I could get, and it hasn't worked out.
So you have Penix and Cousins? You have Penix and Cousins, though, right?
Correct.
I mean, is it a 2 QB mandatory or a super flex where you don't have to start 2 if you don't want to? I mean, it's beneficial to, but
I don't have to start 2. I can start a tight end, wide receiver, whoever I want.
Then you're literally freaking out, I think, when you shouldn't be. I'm not saying not go get Fields, get creative, and try and establish that good second quarterback. And I'm not going to believe that Cousins will for sure get a job somewhere, but so I would expect that Penix Jr. But you don't go blowing stuff up, bro. You're playing for second place if you trade Bijan away because you need a super flex quarterback. At least you got one, bro.
I also had the 1.2 and the 1.12 pick, so I was figuring go Cam Ward, get a Mecca because I don't really trust the other guys.
You'll be fine.
Go get your dude out of Tennessee, and hope for the best.
Yeah, you're going to get one of Shedeur or Cam Ward, obviously. With Penix Jr., you're fine. In your team, you got Neighbors, you got Bijan. You're fine. Don't trade Bijan, bro. That's one of those trades that you regret later. There's no way the 1.3, 1. Again, I wouldn't trade the 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, all together. That entire lot of 1.3 to 1.12. I wouldn't trade Bijan for all of that, let alone what you said. Just to give you my hell no answer, so you know that I'm hell no.
Appreciate it, Smitty. Thanks for making me avoid something I regret.
Yeah, but you don't want to lose Bijan, bro. Especially Penix Jr. and Bijan together. Like, have fun with that. All right, later, bro.
Later.
And John, if you're still listening, I'm not saying don't make a trade. I'm just saying don't make that trade. Like, maybe somebody will, if you really wanted to rebuild, maybe you could get your hands on the 1.1 and like Higgins or something for Bijan. Like, if that's where you want to go. I'm not saying that that's even what I would want to do. I'm just saying you should be able to get what you want. Bijan's the number 1, number 2, or number 3 overall running back. If you can't go get Kyron and I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of the right package, but like Kyron or Achane with a receiver like JSN or something like that. If you can't get that, then like don't even just hold them. And I'm not even saying I do that. I just the 1.3, like you're going after a total unknown. There's no way. I would do it for Genty and something, but I wouldn't even do it for Genty straight up. You throw Bijan into a rookie draft, he's the 1.1 with the biggest tier break, like hard line break between the rest of the players, including Genty, that we would ever have seen. There's just no, now you're talking about valuing the 1.3 against it because you're getting a 7 as well. Like, hell no. It's the worst trade I've ever heard. All right. Anything else, Travis?
I was just going to add to that, like, if he wants to just bolster his QB, like, even if he can't go out and swing a trade for a stud or a top 8 type guy, like, I'm sure if you just want to get depth, you could end up getting, a lot of a stack or, maybe a Bryce Young, Tua. I mean, all these, like...
Dak Prescott's probably really cheap.
16 guys, Dak Prescott, right.
Yeah, Dak is probably dirt
people are
cheap.
down on Kyler. And
Trevor
Kyler
Lawrence.
Bad as a second QB. So...
J.J. McCarthy. Justin Fields.
Right. Yep.
I mean,
Darnold's going to sign somewhere and he could be awful, but he could be cheap. Like, there's a million different ways you can go without having to give up Bijan. And I don't remember all the players he said, but he listed off a bunch of really good players.
AR5. Those are all easier than they should be to be attained quarterbacks. All right, Travis.
Yep.
See you tonight. Yeah, I'll be on tonight. Later. All right, everybody. I appreciate you being here. I'll be back tonight, no doubt about it.
Drop the pancake emojis in the live chat.
BTJ, what you gonna do? He's BTJ. You gotta put it on you. He's BTJ. Gonna have a good game. He's BTJ. Your mama screams his name. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do.
Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Live whenever big news breaks. Also live a lot of graveyard streams. The After Dark shows. We'll see you. I would say pretty strong. I said for sure. Pretty strong chance you'll see me tonight. Can't guarantee it, but I guarantee pretty much, aside from a total insane emergency, family emergency, or natural disaster, the Monday through Friday show is pretty damn guaranteed. I think I missed like one in a year. And even then, I like make up for it. I go live for a few minutes to say that I'm not going live or something like that. But the late shows are never guaranteed, but I know they're always appreciated, and I love being live. So we'll hopefully be live tonight. I'll see you all later.